Real estate and mortgage friends, we have a midweek update due to the CPI numbers coming out today. We've been looking forward to this data for December for some time, and it's more good news. Things are continuing to head in the right direction, most things. There's some things that are not, and really I want to focus on that today. I want to be a little bit of a pessimist today. So the overall CPI total number came in at negative 0.1. It's the first time we've had a negative in a couple of years. And the expectation that I saw was for a 0.1% monthly increase. So it's definitely a little better than what was forecasted, although the market and the pundits are saying this is right in line with what was forecasted.
Inflation is heading lower, but it is still too high. That is the headline from this government report just out this morning. Prices fell 0.1% between November and December, but they're still up 6.5% from a year ago.
All right, so if you jump over to our CPI table here that we've been referencing every month, we're replacing a December of 2021 figure of 0.6% with a December of 2022 figure of negative 0.1%. All said, that should be an improvement of 0.7. Our total inflation number came down about 0.6, which is a result of a rounding situation. So they round up or down based on where the actual number comes in. Also, taking a look at this December CPI report, I put some brackets in down here at the bottom. And essentially what I did is I took the last 6 months, which are July, August, September, October, November, and December, and I added the month-over-month numbers together and annualized it. This doesn't take into account the compounding effect that we would have, but you can see that in the last 6 months we had a 1.8% inflation rate, whereas the prior 6 months are 9.8%. So every month that we move forward and we remove another month from that first section and replace it with another month of lower inflation, we're going to continue to see the annual number come down. This is the reason for optimism. You know, some have accused me of having a crystal ball.
Yes. It is all clear to me now.
Which we kind of laughed about. It's not a crystal ball, it's data. It's right there for you all to see. Bureau of Labor Statistics puts this out for us every single month. They even tell us when it's going to come out, so some nerds like me wake up at 5:30 in the morning and start pouring through the reports. It's all there. The data is improving. The data looks strong, and hopefully we continue to see that moving into the rest of this year. In the last 3 months, we've seen over 1.5% improvement in the total CPI figure. That's all great, right? Well, there's some things not so great. A big part of this improvement is due to energy costs continuing to improve. So if we jump over to the chart here, which is comes from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, this is the actual CPI report with all of the figures broken down. You can see that in the energy section, we've had several months now, 5 out of the last 6 months have been a decrease in energy costs, specifically gasoline, and a big decrease in December. So that's helping the total inflation picture quite a bit, which is giving us a little bit of a false improvement. The oil costs and the fuel costs are artificially bringing inflation down right now. And so the reason I mention that is that we don't expect that to continue every month. In fact, there are quite a few expectations that oil prices are going to start to increase again. And when that happens, that's going to start to slow down the rate of improvement of inflation, unless we start to see improvement in the housing side of things. Okay, so the sticky items that we've been talking about for months now that the Fed is really paying attention to are wage growth, which we are now seeing slow, and housing costs, which if you look down at the housing shelter costs here, the third line from the bottom, June was a 0.6 increase, then 0.5, 0.7, 0.7, 0.8. Last month was 0.6, and December of 22 was 0.8. And so we continue to see the housing prices, the shelter costs being a problem for the total inflation picture. And when you remember that the shelter costs make up over a third of the total inflation picture, that's really our biggest problem area right now. I want to jump over to the Zori chart now, which if you recall is Zillow Observed Rent Index. Zillow tracks the monthly rental advertised rates on their website. So people who are trying to rent their homes out, and they're using that data to show a different data set. And you can see on this chart that the yellow line represents the CPI inflation of shelter costs, which continues to rise, while the Zori number is dropping like a rock. In fact, in November, which is when this chart was made, those two lines intersected, meaning that the CPI figure is still increasing and the Zori number is coming down quite quickly. Why is that? Well, the answer is that the Zillow number is a monthly tabulation, whereas the CPI number is a 12-month tabulation, so it moves much more slowly. In fact, the rise that we're seeing right now has been building for months and months and months, whereas the Zori is a much more responsive index. It's going to move much more quickly. And so it's more live time, if you will, whereas the CPI number is more a 12-month average of what's going on. So we are seeing, according to the Zori index, rent prices coming down. In fact, Zillow just published an article, which we'll put down in the link, where they are stating that for the first time in many months, rent actually came down from October to November. There was a decrease in the average rental offer rate from November to December. That's a leading indicator. If it holds, we should see the CPI numbers start to improve. And so as we move forward, we may see fuel prices go up, which isn't a bad thing, but it should be pulled back down by the improvement in the shelter costs that we should see in the Q1 and into Q2 of this year. We'll see if those hold. That's a big thing that we're focused on right now, because if we see improvement in wage growth, meaning it slows, and we see an improvement in shelter costs, meaning the rate of increase slows, or even potentially comes down a little bit, then we should see inflation continue to improve at a pretty rapid clip. So we're all paying close attention to this. A lot of things can happen. We'll keep paying attention every single week and every single month to what's going on. It's not going to be a straight line down. There's going to be some bumps along the way. There's going to be some reports that come out that, maybe show things not improving as quickly as we thought. There's going to be some ups and downs, but all told, things continue to march in the right direction, and so we have a lot to be optimistic about. If you have any questions about the CPI report or like a more in-depth explanation, reach out to your Cardinal loan officer, and we'll be happy to get that information to you.